for staying with us. Well, yesterday you heard how the Lands and Natural Resources Minister said the previous administration sold government lands in prime areas they were dishing out like Kelewele in his words. Well, this afternoon we'll be hearing from some of those individuals who are named on that list released exclusively to JoyNews by our sources. Joining us shortly from the offices of the Kufour Foundation is spokesperson of former President John Kufour, who is one of those mentioned in that report. First, let's listen to the Lands Minister John Peter Mewu in this interview with Latif Idrisu when he went there to present to him a copy of his documentary Land Wars.
On behalf of the group, we are presenting this copy to the Honorable Minister. So this is a three-part documentary. It will take you 90 minutes to watch the full video. The issues surrounding Ghana's land management system. Like I mentioned earlier, I know you have a lot to do with the issue of Galamsey, but then you will have to also deal with the lapses in the lands management system. Initial remarks as to how this whole incident is going to impact your operations as the sector minister.
We want to assure Ghanaians that we will do what we can as a government to reduce some of these difficulties in the land title administration in the country.
One key issue that came up, in the course of this work has to do with the allegation that at the Lands Commission we have officials there who take money from developers even before they go ahead to register. If you don't pay your documents, they will slow your document down. You wouldn't get your land title certificate within the 3-month period. How concerned is the ministry?
Well, of course, these are allegations, and of course, I wouldn't say it's yes or no, but we know Ghana as a country that we have inherited is a country devil with a lot of corruption issues. And so we are putting in measures. And if some of those things are found to be true, of course, those people will need to be punished.
The president has made a declaration on how to deal with the land guard issue. It falls within your remit as the lands minister. Are you going to give it similar approach as we are giving to the issue of Galamsey?
The president has put up a committee together who are seriously working on that. You know, the land guard issue has to do more of a security issues, has a lot of security concerns. So it's being handled, and the national security is in charge, and I think measures are being put in place to address it. From our perspective, we are looking at the policy aspect of it to make sure that it doesn't happen. What do you need to do to make sure that it doesn't happen? What are the causes of the Galamsey? Yes, it's happening, and so that is why we begin to address it from the land administration perspective. For the issue which is occurring already, those occurrences will be looked at in terms of the security issues, which is strongly being, addressed by the committee put together.
Yeah. When should we expect this committee to come out with?
No, I think the committee is working, and I'm aware that they have even deployed some intelligence around to gather some information. So the committee is seriously on ground. Yeah.
Consider liaising more with the chiefs to sanitize the system?
Precisely. We have had several engagements with the chief. My administration have had several engagements with the chief in collaboration with the chief director. We've told some of the areas where chiefs have titles over this land and speak to them and see how we can engage them. Currently, just recently, we were at the Sumanches Palace to have some level of engagement. So we are collaborating with the chief. The presentation of this documentary, I think it's timely because today is supposed to receive a report from the Land Commission. We put a team together to investigate some allocations of land that were done in 2013 till now. If you look at the period between 2013 to today, the number of lands that was dished out, from government lands that was dished out of this country, was given out like Kelewele. No man's business, And so we put a committee together to look into that. The committee is here to present those reports. I think they were to do that today. So you're coming here, I don't know, it's of course significant and of course of timely. So we're working very hard, and of course we are going to examine those allocation problems and see what are the difficulties. And
John Peter Mewu is Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Let's go over to the office of the Kufour Foundation. We'll be speaking to Frank Agyekum. He speaks for former President John Agyekum Kufour. Hello, Frank. Thank you very much for, Mr. Agyekum. Thank you very much for your time here on the show. How is the former president reacting to the news that his name is on a list of persons who benefited from government vested lands?
Yeah, hello, and thanks for inviting me. Well, we don't know under what circumstances his name came to be associated with this list, because it's not as if the former president went out to expropriate land from any person or from anybody. What has happened is that as part of his retirement benefits under the Chinrihese conditions, President Kufour was supposed to have been resettled with a residential accommodation as well as an office accommodation. The piece of land in question is a plot that has been shown to him as where the government was going to put up the building for his residential accommodation. So that's all there is to it. He didn't go out to look for any land, or he didn't go out to ask for land. All the government has done was to show him a piece of land that they are going to put on his residential accommodation as per the Chinrihese recommendations.
So has the residence been built for him already on this land?
No, it's just a plot of land that there is there. The building has not yet been put up.
Okay, how is he reacting to the information being out there? Was he upset when he heard about it yesterday? I'm sure he must have heard.
Well, he just wants the facts to be known, for everybody to know that, because the way the news came out, it would appear as if he had gone out to look for land or to expropriate land from somebody, maybe even through illegal means. No, but the fact of the matter is, as has been stated to you now, and that is that it's a piece of land that has been given to him by government where his residential accommodation, as per his retirement benefits, is to be given to him.
Indicates that as we spoke, or as we were discussing the story, there has not been the establishment of any wrongdoing on any of the persons on the list parts. We just wanted to understand this. But it doesn't mean that he may, with all the news and the information coming out, that it may upset him and he may perhaps reject it. Is that something he's considering?
Oh, not at all. I mean, as I said earlier, the point is to make the facts clear. There's nothing to do about rejection. Once the matter had been made public and the public do not know the facts of the matter, it's good for the facts of the matter to be explained for everybody to know what is happening.
Just to take a bit of, do a little bit of catching up with the former president. What has he been up to?
Oh, actually, he just returned from a trip abroad where he'd been actually in Europe for the past a month and a half or so. Part of it was to do some engagements that had come his way, and part of it was also to take his leave period and take a bit of rest.
What has he been doing since? I mean, you just mentioned that he returned to Ghana quite recently. What is it that he's been up to in the UK, in Rome, etc.?
Well, first of all, he went to the UK because the William Wilberforce Institution for Slavery and Emancipation at the University of Hull were honoring him with the first ever Emancipation Medal for his role towards humanity in terms of human development and human progress. Aside of that, he also had a function in Rome with the WFP, where he addressed a summit on nutrition and food systems at the WFP head office in Rome, at the FAO office in Rome. And then he went on to Paris, where he is board member of a group called the Meridian Group, which goes around looking for investments in developing countries. And they were having their board meeting and consultations, and he was part of it. And aside of that, he also joined the Freemasons for a ceremony in London, The rest was for him to rest and take a bit of, time off and then, recuperate.
Recuperate. That sounds very good for us. But I'm going to let you go, Mr. Agyekum. But thank you very much for your time. I just want to find out quickly whether or not the former president will just leave this matter to rest, or whether or not you'll be confronting perhaps the Lands Commission or the ministry to find out why his name appeared on a list that's, maybe seek some reasons or seek some explanation from the agencies as to why his name appeared on that list. Because if they just gave it to him as part of his retirement package, then he must find it quite disturbing that it's circulating out there as though he got it illegally.
Yeah, no, there's no something under consideration at the moment. As you rightly said, no wrongdoing has been imputed yet, but then the way the matter came up, it should appear as if it was in the negative sense. But then really, all the president is interested in doing is explain away his side of the story, which really is the facts of what has happened. Maybe if the ministry had cared to look deeply, they may not even have added his name at all to it. But then that is it. But so I don't think there's any further steps that are going to be taken unless something else comes out that needs his attention. But as of now, all he wants to do is explain the circumstances by which that plot of land came to be associated with him.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Frank Agyekum speaks for former President John Agyekum Kufour. They're telling us what the former president thinks about this particular story, that, well, his name being associated, as he says, with one of those government vested lands. So watching the Pulse with me, Gifty, and I'll be right back.